the job for what, about a month now, Coach?
1 month.
1 month, and we're so happy to welcome to the first time for our 2-hour sports luncheons, new UMass head football coach Charlie Molnar.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me today. Just a couple things when Coach talked about the hockey game. Did any of you ever realize there was so much strategy involved in hockey when he was going through how they scored that goal? That was amazing, just listening to that. And then the other thing that I found that we both have in common is this. We both have a great dislike for Boston College, so I can hear that. I can hear that tension building up in him, and I certainly feel every time I think about those guys down the highway. So that's certainly one of our goals very, very quickly is to establish ourselves as the best football team in New England. It's pretty simple. There's 2 other 1A schools in our area. They both are in different conferences than we're in, and we're all in different things, Boston College and UConn. And I really go to bed every night thinking about those 2 schools, and I wake up every morning thinking about those 2 schools, thinking about ways that we can beat them in every single thing that we do. So I really emphasize that to the coaches on our staff so far, how important it is for us to be the best team in New England. And this is something that we're going to strive to get those guys on our schedule on a year-to-year basis, make them come to Gillette and play us, and we'll go to their place. You come to our place, we'll go to your place. You come to our place, we'll go to your place. And they don't really like that very much, and I can certainly tell you that UConn is very, very aware of us moving up to 1A, and I know that that's always been one of their greatest fears, is that the sleeping giant, UMass, would decide to wake up one day, and I think that time is here, that we're waking up and we're ready to take on our neighbors to the south. I'll just give you an overview of what I've done and where we've been here in the last month since I've been hired. The first thing I did after we had a chance to, after I came in that very first morning, I got a chance to meet with the football team, did the usual thing, signed our contract, went around, met some of the key leaders in athletic administration that morning, went to Gillette and had our press conference, and then the next several days, what I really tried to do was, before our guys went home for Christmas break, is have a chance to sit down and meet with each and every guy. And I would tell them all the same thing, and I'm going to tell you what I said. I really didn't give them much of a chance to talk. It wasn't the time for them to tell me their opinions on UMass football or tell me how things needed to be fixed or how things could be better. And I just gave them some basic rules that I want them to live by and work by in our time together at UMass, and hopefully these basic rules and principles are things that they'll carry with them the rest of their lives. Things that you and I most likely were raised with, or at least most of them. And they sound really simple, all right, but they're not easy, because young men and young ladies, all right, throughout the U.S. don't consistently do these on college campuses or in high schools or as young adults. So these are things that we wanted to establish. Really simple. Number 1 was do the right thing. And if I have to explain what that means, I said, you'll come back for a second meeting with me, and it'll be much more extensive. They all said the same thing. I know what that means, Coach, so we'll see how that goes. Then, speaking to the men, the next thing I said to get this in their minds was treat women with respect. And I think that's an important part of our football team. I said, I want to see you hold the door for a lady as she's walking by. I don't want to hear any foul language as you are as women are in the room or in the vicinity. Just simple things that somewhere along the line, young men today have lost focus on, have not been taught those basic skills. And of course, as we all know, as it goes into the dating scene, what treating women with respect is. And this is something that's very, very important to me, and I'm going to make sure that our men uphold that very, very sacred value that we have. And I said, here's the bottom line on this one. If you blow it, if I think that you've blown it, I'm going to shoot first and ask questions later. And I said, and you won't like the result if I shoot first. So understand this is vitally important. Then I went through the basic rules. Don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal. And if I can get our young men to understand those, we're taking another positive step with our football team. The next thing I told them, give me everything you got. Every single day, give me everything you got, and I'll give you everything I got. That's a deal. What's giving me everything you got? That means this. When we do a drill, guys are hustling to get to the front of the line. They want to be first. They want to be a leader. They want to impress their coach. They're running through the line. They finish everything they do. All right? It doesn't matter if it's weightlifting or if it's a winter conditioning drill that we do or if it's just going to class and finishing their semester the right way. Give me everything you got. Okay? And then, finally, I told them this. They're not here checking me out. They're not saying, well, we'll see what Coach Molnar's like, see if I like this guy. He's got this new gig. We'll see if he's the right guy for the job. It doesn't work that way. I'm checking them out. It's their job to please me. It's not my job to please them. Okay? And I said, I'm watching every single thing you do. I'm making sure that your shoes are tied, your shirt's tucked in, your hair's brushed, okay? The way that you interact with the other players, the way you interact with your coaches, yes coach, no coach, yes sir, no sir, okay? All those things, how they keep their locker, those are all vitally important to winning football teams. How do I know? Because I've been on some of the best football teams in college football in America, and I've been on some of the worst as a coach. And I've seen both ends of the spectrum. And I can tell you this, on the best teams in America, that's the way we did our business. On the worst teams, it was the exact opposite, the polar opposite. So I know that these things are very, very important. And regardless if we win every game or don't win every game, these are values that we want to drive home to our players. Okay, so now all these guys went home for Christmas break and they're doing their thing. And they really don't know what to expect when they get back, and that's exactly the way I want it, okay? Because they'll be in for some surprises when they get here. They're going to work harder than they've ever worked in their life. How do I know that? I don't know what they did before I got here. I can't answer that, but I know this. I just looked at their immediate past track record of success, and I'm telling you, they could have worked harder. Because what they were isn't good enough. Because if it was good enough, I wouldn't be standing here today. There would be somebody else standing here today. He's not. So I can tell you this, we are going to work very, very hard as a football team as we enter this spring. All right? I hope to keep every single player. I hope everyone wants to be part of what we're building and developing. It may not be for every guy. I can't answer that question. I hope it is. But it may not, and those guys will find another place to go where it'll be a little bit easier, where the demands aren't so great. Because at the end of the day, the demands are this. We are to win as many football games as we can, as fast as we can. That's what we're here to do. I want to win championships. And this is how I put it to them. I'm in a hurry-up mode, okay? It's not because John McCutcheon said you got to win fast. Okay? I said I want to win as many rings as I can before I die. All right? I want to win championships. I've been there. It's a great, great feeling. That feeling carries you for a year until it's time for another one. That's what I want to do. And I want to share these championships with all of the great fans and friends and alumni of UMass football. Because we won't do it by ourselves. We need your help. We need your help to make this thing go. And what does that mean? Buying a ticket, a single game ticket to a game, if that's all you can do. Buy season tickets. Buy season tickets for your family. Write a check. Support our program. We have Rocco in here. He'll give you 100 different ways you can support our program. Okay? Not everybody can write the big check. I understand that. I can't write a big check right now. I'm having a little cash flow problem myself. So, I'm just kidding. Anyways, but the bottom line is we can all find ways to help support the football program. And I want everybody to be creative in the way they think of it. I got to get in the car, go to Gillette, I'll make a shopping day of it in Boston. I'm going to every game. I'm going to have a tailgate. I'm going to bring some friends that have never been to a UMass game. Whatever you can do to get our program going. Because at the end of the day, here's our vision for this program, for this football team. That when we go into Gillette Stadium, it may not happen in 2012, it may not even happen in 2013, but it's going to happen that when we go in there, that stadium is going to be packed with UMass fans. It's going to happen. And we're going to bring people in that you want to come and see us play, all right? And we're not talking the CAA teams, okay? The days of playing New Hampshire and Maine, those days are over. Okay, now we've moved on to bigger and better. Temple, okay? It may not strike fear in your heart as a fan, but I'm telling you as a football coach, if I was at Notre Dame, I wouldn't want to play Temple. I promise you that. But now, I want to play Temple. I want to see where we're at compared to them, okay? You guys watch Northern Illinois play this year. You watch Toledo play this year. These are bona fide, all right, hit you in the mouth football teams, okay? And they can beat virtually anybody in the country on a good day, all right? And then after we take care of the MAC and we establish ourselves of being at the top of that, then we're going to expect, and you're going to expect, when we have teams from the power conferences, the Michigans, the Connecticut, so to speak, okay, any of those type of people, they come in, you're going to be mad if we don't win that game when you leave Gillette. That's the feeling that we want to have. You're coming in to see a great afternoon of football, and you at the end of the day are expecting a win. And so we have to raise our expectations as fans, as a university, and most importantly as players, that we believe when we step on the field, it's a game that not only can we win, we expect to win. So that's part of our process here at the University of Massachusetts, getting the guys to think that way. Now, what else have we been doing? Well, we've been recruiting. We've been recruiting very hard. We'll have approximately 20 men visit us on our very first recruiting weekend, just a little over a week from now. Out of those 20 guys, I've seen almost every guy face-to-face so far. Not everyone, but almost everyone. And I can tell you this, if before I went into their home or their high school, if they were leaning just a little bit somewhere else, we've brought the lean now coming leaning towards UMass. I'm not saying all 20 are going to commit, but I'm telling you, we'll have a shot at all 20 of those guys that come in. Then we have about 5 or 6 right now lined up for the following weekend. So recruiting's going very well. We're expecting really an avalanche of commitments here in the next 10 days. And I'm pretty confident that that's going to happen. Also, we've been assembling a staff, some of the finest football coaches, I believe, not only in the Mid-American Conference, but in college football. And you say, Coach, how can you do it? I don't know what your salary cap is. Well, number one is, excuse me, through 28 years of coaching, I've made a lot of connections, I've made a lot of phone calls, I've shaken a lot of hands, and I've worked with a lot of men. Some guys that are great football coaches, some guys not so great, okay? I scratched those guys off the list a long time ago. But what I've done has kept up, and these guys believe in what I'm selling. These guys believe in the University of Massachusetts, and they want to be part of something new and be part of something special and part of building a program and having them be on the ground floor of it. So these guys are, so far so good, really excited to be here. And then really that's kind of it as we've been pushing forward. I'll be out on the road. I won't be at I'd love to be at the game, the Boston College game, but here's what I think. I got to go out recruiting. Okay, because it would be great going to that game and watching that, but I'll be thinking the whole time of all the players that I really need to see, because at the end of the day, the enthusiasm that you'll have at that hockey game, I want you to bring that enthusiasm to our game, where you know we have a great chance to win. We need to go out and get the players to make that happen. So unfortunately, I won't be there, but I'll be following along on Twitter or whatever, so I can keep up. Well, anyways, I only have a relatively short period of time, but I do want to open up the floor for questions. So if anybody has any, fire away. Go ahead, right there. Okay, I grew up in Morristown, New Jersey, which is about 20-25 miles from New York City. And I went to Bailey Ellard High School as a Catholic high school. Unfortunately, in the last couple of years, like so many schools, as it kind of merged, consolidated, closed down, whatever you want to call it, so that no longer exists. But anyways, then I went away to college in Pennsylvania at Lock Haven University, which is a Division II school located virtually right in the middle of the state of Pennsylvania.
Can you tell us anything about your assistants?
Well, only some of them have signed contracts so far, so I'm supposed to try to keep this on the QT. But I can only tell you this. Every guy I hired has had either full-time Division 1A coaching experience, okay? And that means not being a graduate assistant coach, which I was once upon a time, which is being a coach, but you're you're second in command just at your position. So like when I was a GA quarterback coach, I wasn't really responsible for the quarterbacks. I just did whatever my boss told me to do, okay? Well, these guys have all been full-time coaches either at a 1A university or in professional football. I can assure you that. Okay, so these guys are all very well experienced. Go ahead.
Very impressed with what you've been saying. I'm wondering if you have any input in scheduling down the road, maybe what teams could be coming in here in the next 2, 3, 4 years.
Well, I don't really have a whole lot of input on schedule, and I'm working on that. But here are the type of teams I want to play. I want to play the best football teams in the Northeast, number one. Okay, and the biggest, or maybe let me rephrase that, the biggest football teams in the Northeast. So I want to play Boston College and UConn. That's a given. I want to play both those schools on an annual basis. I would like to play Rutgers. I'd like to play them as often as we could. Pittsburgh. I'd like to play Penn State. I'd like to play Maryland, because these are all schools where I want to recruit. And I've said this before, and I'm going to say this over and over again. I'm going to recruit, number one, Massachusetts. Number 2 is New England. Number 3 is the Northeast. And number 4 is the Eastern Seaboard. That's it. Okay, so as you see some of the rosters of these football teams across America getting more and more guys from Florida, I'm going to do the opposite. Yeah, I'm going to recruit some Florida kids because they're the best players I can get at their position. But here's what I want. When it's November, because championships are won in November, when our football team goes out on the field, our guys are going to go out there with bare arms. They're not going to have all that gear on. When it's cold, when it's 11, 12 degrees and the wind's whistling in Gillette Stadium and we're playing for a MAC championship, that cold is not going to bother our football team. That will not be an excuse. The cold, the wind, the rain, the snow, because I grew up in the Northeast, I think I'm a pretty tough guy. I've been around lots of tough guys. Most of them, in my opinion, are from the Northeast that can handle the weather, the elements. They don't think twice. I've been around a lot of those guys from down south, and they're great in September. Okay, and they're pretty good when it gets into October. When it comes championship time, all of a sudden they're more worried about how cold it is than making that big catch or making that tackle. That's just my experience. That's not 100% true, but that's my experience. I want tough gentlemen on our football team. Tough gentlemen. Guys on the football field that will hit you in the mouth. That if you get up, they're going to knock you back down again. Okay? But when it's off the field, they're a totally different guy. But I like the toughness of Northeast football. That's why I was so anxious to get back here. Long answer to a short question. Go ahead.
Now, what criteria do you use to recruit someone?
Pardon me?
What criteria do you use to recruit someone?
Well, it's a long list. And we have a thing that I call a profile. And that profile is a combination of size and speed, okay, from a physical standpoint. And then we grade their obvious skill sets, but then we also look into their character, their grades. I look at their as a head coach, here's what I want. Let me see his transcript. Okay, 49 absences and lates. I don't want the kid. I don't want that kid on my football team. I just don't want him. So there's a lot of criteria that we look at. We talk to their coach. How does he work? Does he come early? Does he stay late? What kind of kid is he? Is he tough? Okay. Does he respect authority? All those things, because I don't need the player coming in, snapping back and wising off to a coach, because that puts us in a bad position, okay? I just invested $25,000 a year in this kid. I'm tied into him. I've got him for 4 or 5 years, and I got a smart aleck. So now we've got a problem already. So if I know it on the front end, I'm going to prevent it. Sometimes they slip through the cracks. You do all the due diligence you can. A guy comes in, he's not what you expect. You live with it, and you try to manage him and get him going your way. But if I can avoid it on the front end, I will, because again, championship football teams are made of men of high character. You don't win with the smart alecks. Anything else? Okay.
You're talking about recruiting. I was interested. How many of the kids you're looking at now were recruited by the previous staff?
Not very many. Some kids were, just because they're good football players and they maybe heard something from the previous staff. But we're really, when we got here, we really went with a clean slate. We just said, let's start over again. There wasn't much left behind, so really we weren't building with much. There was a few committed players. Some of them could play for a lot of schools. Some of them can't play for many schools. So we've kind of we're trying to massage that the best we can. And so at the end, you'll kind of see who we end up with and who we don't end up with. But that certainly is not going to be the foundation of our recruiting class. It's just not.
First of all, it's hardly correct. UConn is twice as much gated here as BC.
That's good. I like where we're going with this.
If I was playing Saturday, this is what I would have for a starting lineup. Here's where we lost the skill players from last year. Here's where we need to fill the holes and all that.
Well, we've tried to assess the returning talent. I mean, that's one of the first things that we did. But really, my recruiting right now is really just based on getting the best athletes available, because let's face it, we're starting late. By the time I got hired and the ink was dry on my contract, okay, most of the best Mid-American Conference type football players were already committed. So now we're going to try to fight to get the uncommitted ones that are in our region, or our recruiting footprint. Number two is we're going to take some of the guys that have committed and try to get them turned to UMass, even though they may be committed somewhere else. And then we have to kind of just look at the best of the rest. Some guys, and I hate saying it, some of these guys really were battling against JMU and Villanova. I don't like it, but that's just the way it is right now this first year. And I told every high school coach I met, and I tell them, I set my jaw when I tell them, and I say this, Coach, I'll look at this kid this year, and I'll recruit against James Madison and Old Dominion this year if I have to. But I said, next year, I am not stepping foot in your school if you're showing me a guy and I'm recruiting against the CAA school. I'm going to walk out the door. I want to recruit against the Mid-American Conference players, and I want to recruit against the Big East players when I'm in the Northeast. I want to recruit against Pittsburgh, BC, UConn, Rutgers. And I'm going to we'll get our share of those guys. We won't get as many, but we'll get some of them. But if you set your sights low, that's just what you're going to get. You're going to have a whole team full of CAA players. And that'd be great for the CAA, but that will not nearly be good enough for the Mid-American Conference.
Two things. Any kickers?
We're looking for kickers, yes.
Yeah.
You got one?
And any of the assistants that were here to
You kind of...
any assistants from this last staff stay?
No, did not. Looking for a kicker. No returning coaches from last staff. Good.
Coach, you have a defensive non-conference especially the same reason. Given that you're first coaching, what are your expectations?
Well, and I'm saying this seriously. My expectations are to win every football game. That's how I'm wired. I don't ever go into a game thinking we're not going to win that game. Well, we'll do our best. We're not going to lay back and say we're going to lose to this team, so we won't show all our stuff, or we'll save this guy. We're going into every game to win. But here's the bottom line. I would love to go through my whole head coaching career without a loss. That's my plan, okay? But I know that I may lose one or two along the way. So if I do, it's going to be in 2012. So I'm going to make sure that in those games, if it doesn't look like it's going the way I want it to go, I'm going to play the young talent. I'm going to play the backup quarterback. I'm going to get guys ready to go, because the champion, we go undefeated. We can't go to a bowl game next year anyways. So the bottom line is this. I'm getting this football team. I'm teaching this football team how to win. I'm teaching them fundamentals. I'm teaching them how to give great effort, and I'm teaching them how to expect to win. And then as we drive forward into the near future, not some distant thing where nobody even knows when and where, as we drive into the near future, 13, 14, 15, we're laying the groundwork for a MAC championship football team. That's what I want to do. So I'm going to play the young talent when the opportunity presents itself. But I'm not going to burn it down like some coaches come in, and I've heard this. You guys haven't been in the coaching world, at least probably most of you haven't, and you hear things, head coaches come in and say, I'm going to burn it down. Okay, I'm going to play all freshmen. Well, guess what? When you lose every game, or lose virtually every game, you burn everything down. You burn down the excitement, the momentum, all that stuff. I want to go in there and I want to compete to win each and every football game. Then as head coach, I'll make the decision, okay, let's start getting some of these guys in the football game right now. It's not happening this afternoon. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I'm telling you how I think. You've asked a lot of questions. So yeah, go ahead.
How do you find a coach?
It's a long process, and I'm just telling you that's what it takes. It takes really 2 years, minimum of 2 years. So we're trying to do in a month, which really should take at least 2 years to do. But we have all sources of information, and it's just like the same thing. Like when pro scouts come walking in your building, the first thing they say to you in the spring is, "Who do we look at?" They don't know. You think these guys are sitting there with some supercomputer that tells them who the best players are. It's just good old-fashioned relationship building things that you do. You walk in, you trust the guy, who do we look at? And we give the pro scouts a list of names. They sit there, they watch film, and they start whittling it down. They say, this guy can't play, this guy can't play, maybe this guy can. And they go on, and they start accumulating their information, and we do the same thing. And it's a long, tedious process, okay? And we're trying to go warp speed right now. So we'll piggyback on other people's work. That's a secret in here. That what other people, players that other teams have committed, will say they've already done some of the homework for us. We'll look at those guys, and then if some of them fit our needs, then we'll try to steal them. If they're not interested, then we just move on to the next guy. That's part of how we're doing it right now. Okay.
Coach, our number of scholarships are increasing. Is that a gradual thing, or what's the top number that is?
Well, the top number for Division 1A is 85 scholarships. And I believe you have to be at 80. So when, for example, when Michigan scheduled UMass, or UMass scheduled Michigan, however you want to look at it, okay, we have to be at 80 scholarships minimum, I think, is the number, 80 or 81, to be considered 1A. Or else we would be a 1AA team, and they need to play so many 1A teams. And we'll be at that minimum number, but we might not be past it this year. I knew that coming in. Would I like 85? Sure I would. Okay, but that'll be another year till I get to that number. And really, the university has taken a major leap from a financial commitment from CAA to being in the MAC. Because really the scholarship cost to be in the MAC would be exactly the same if we were in the Big Ten. It's 85 scholarships, 85 times 22,000 a year, whatever it costs, is the same. It doesn't matter what conference you're in. And then, of course, raising the number of assistant coaches from 6 full-time coaches to 9 is also now 3 more guys on the payroll that weren't there. So, yeah, everything's growing. Everything's growing. It's got to grow fast, you know, for us to be competitive. Can't be some slow process, but I think they knew that coming in. Any other questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, recruiting in Massachusetts is obviously a great idea. If for no other reason, then you'll get more people into Gillette, because they'll have friends and families in Massachusetts who want to go see those players. Gillette, is that a reasonable hypothesis?
Sure. We want to, you know, people love to come out and see what I call the hometown heroes.
Right.
So in other words, if there's a guy from the Boston area, for example, that was a big name, maybe he was like one of those high school academic scholar type of guys, everybody knows him, he's a great kid, did community service, all state. People from not only his high school, his community that really love and follow football, especially high school football, want to go see that guy move on and do very well. It could be from this part of the state. And then people will travel and say they want to come and watch that guy. Certainly. Yeah, I'm very cognizant of the hometown hero thing.
The other part of the question is the other UMass campus.
I've got a plan for that.
Okay.
You see, we're their football team.
Yeah.
They don't know that. Okay? They're going to know that.
I know.
Yeah, well, you're like me. You're bright. Okay? But not everybody thinks that. So we're going to try to bring those people to understand that we're their team. They should be cheering for come Saturday afternoon. They should be cheering for Syracuse or any of these other teams, or USC or whoever, just a random team, because their school doesn't have a team. Their school does have a team. It's just not located in their backyard on their same campus. But we are their team. And I'm going to try to work some things to get those, to invigorate the masses at those schools. I'm going to set foot on every one of those campuses, talk to their students. If they'll listen, I'll talk. I'll send my coaches there, and we'll really try to get those guys to buy into what we're doing and give them a source of pride for their university, because we're their university football team. So they just have to know it. Anybody else? Okay, you've been a great audience today. Thank you very much for listening. I look forward to coming back again shortly.